All right. Let's start with a quick word of prayer, and then we will dive into just a quick overview of the business plan in general, and then a little bit of time for question and answer. Obviously, there is no way I can fully answer all of your questions tonight. There just won't, that's not possible. But I also want to open up to availability to myself, to the director, Sandy Nelson, and also our business manager, Sheila. We will be available for lots more questions. So let's start with a quick word of prayer, if you would join me. Father God, I thank you so much for the opportunities that you've opened up in front of us that are particularly and amazingly abundant. And I pray, Lord, that you would give us the faith and the courage to walk forward, knowing that you are a God who is able to provide, able to deliver. You are a sovereign God who's able to do all things. So I pray that the vision and the mission of Little Friends and Living Faith would continue to move forward into the future boldly, with the intention to continue to be part of the growing kingdom of your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord. In his name, amen. All right. Oh, we see. Told you. We got another one right here. Lynn Parkerson. I'm going to let her get all the way in. Hey, Lynn, we just started with an opening prayer. You missed it, so you got to pray on your own. Deal with it. So we're going to share screen. Hang on. Get to my presentation. Here we go. And so this is the business plan. It's really kind of an expansion of the business plan, because currently Little Friends is in existence. I think all of you know that we have a preschool. It is from 9 o'clock until 1 o'clock. What we are moving towards is better described as an early childhood learning center. So it is daycare with the options on the inside of that daycare capsule for preschool or extended learning. And you're going to find out that we've got some special things going on inside here in just a second. So if you're unaware, this is where I'd like to start, is there is a childcare crisis in Iowa. And this is not me blowing smoke. This is not Sandy blowing smoke. This is not our consulting service that we paid telling us good numbers because we paid them. There is an executive order from our governor on March 8th. Executive Order 8, March 10th, 2021, that is about our Iowa child care crisis. Go ahead and Google that and look up the numbers on this. I'm going to give you a few things that are specifically and directly from Executive Order 8 from March 10th, 2021. That includes the loss of a third of child care providers in the last 5 years. We'll go ahead and let that sink in. A third of child care providers in the state of Iowa have closed in the last 5 years. That predates COVID, and we don't know all the COVID numbers yet, but this means that there is a child care crisis in Iowa right now. This is why the governor has funneled so much money. This is why we have a $320,000 grant awarded to us, because there's a child care crisis in the state of Iowa. The market could not be any better for us to do something like this. So this number kind of sucks, and I don't want you to get too focused on it. There's an estimated shortfall of 350,000 childcare slots in Iowa. That doesn't mean there's 350,000 childcare slots needed in Clive. It's the state of Iowa. It's really hard for us to pin down a number of childcare slots in our area because of course, uh-oh. Keith, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Ah, shoot. Okay. So something froze up somewhere. All right. Let me see. I can't advance these slides anymore.
There's something went. The next bullet just came up.
Okay. I'm sorry, everyone. I think it's because we've got another person trying to join and my computer is trying to figure that out. Does anybody else have permissions to allow Wanda in? Let me see if I can go do that. My apologies.
Can you make one of us a co-host?
I can't even get my cursor back, to be honest. So it looks like I can advance slides, but I can't actually run the meeting anymore. That's strange. Yay for Zoom. All right, let me log in really quick on my other machine and see if I can get that to go. Almost there. Again, my apologies. And I'm going to try to make sure this does not get awful feedback with two machines going in my face. All right. Oh,
Better mute your second one.
yeah, sorry about that. I couldn't even get to the second one to get to mute it without doing all of that nonsense. All right. Couple of people to let in. All right, we're just going to kind of pick up. I'm going to do, this is going to be weird. I'm going to have two screens and we'll see how this goes. One of them is muted. Keith, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. All right, we're good.
I can hear you.
So, again, my apologies, everybody. Let's do it to it. So, back to the governor's executive order 8, March 10th, 2021. Iowa lost a third of its child care providers in the last 5 years. An estimated shortfall of 350,000 does not obviously include just our 5-mile area that we had our study done in. And it is very challenging to figure out exactly how many are in our area because there's very few actual accredited childcare centers in our area. And we aren't one of them because we can't be because of our facility. It's kind of one of the problems that we have. So we are working towards becoming something that would be an accredited early learning center for young kids and a huge benefit to the area, but it's something that we can't even do. And there's, by the way, very little in our area in terms of Christian daycare slash preschool early learning hood center. So we are entering into a market that is incredibly underserved. And as you're going to see in just a second, there's a lot of people moving into our community shortly. So the early learning consultation services is who we used for our child care feasibility study. This came out a while ago. You've all have seen this. This has been out forever. The population in our area, this is kind of a review, expected to grow by 17.5% in the next 5 years. Well, the state is only projected to grow at 3.15%. So our specific area is growing. And if you look at that feasibility study, which I'm not going to drag in front of you at the moment, if you look at that feasibility study, it is it will illustrate to you that who are moving here are families. These are people with children or of childbearing years who are coming into our community. So our specific population in our area is growing perfectly for the market that we are trying to enter into. The families in our area value high quality education and care centers, meaning not only do they desire high professionalism, but they also desire a curriculum and a staff that is dedicated to producing the highest level of childcare for their kids. And they have the means to pay for that. This is not the sort of thing where it is, excuse me, people who desire to have high quality, but they can't pay for it. So the median income, all of that is in this feasibility study that came out a while ago, and that data has not changed. So in the business plan, and this is put together with certain specific things in mind that we're going to get to in just a second, but the business plan looks like this as far as the dollars go. And I know that that's what everybody is mostly concerned about, is the dollars and cents. Can we afford this? In the first 6 months, with the absolute most conservative estimates for the budget, in the first 6 months, we would lose about 60 grand. That's this number. Apparently I can't show you. That's unfortunate. In the bottom left-hand corner, $58,911 in the first 6 months. By the end of that year, we're looking at $127,000 in profit, which is worked out at the end of the day for a total of $68,275 profit. So what this looks like, and here's just a little bit more detail on that. These are the same numbers, but just given a little bit more detail. If Little Friends is required to illustrate that it can cover the cost of construction and operation and operate with a mindset to retain the highest quality education and care, we will have a initial 6-month small profit, or I'm sorry, that should be small loss. I'm sorry, this is not going well. Small loss, and over $200,000 income by 2005. So the initial 6-month loss is about $60,000, and then a small profit by the same year end is what we're looking at. Are there any questions or thoughts thus far?
This 2005, what?
It's 2025.
Okay.
2025, yeah.
So these are the slide he had up before. It kind of, I think it shows it a little better with the cumulative balance that would come through each year. So those where those numbers come from.
Yeah, we have had a bit of a rush to pull this thing together to get it up and running by tonight. It's been a heck of a day. Technology notwithstanding. So, thoughts or questions thus far?
I think, to be honest, Luke, not to harass you here, but I think that bullet where it says it's over 200,000 in income by 2025, I think that's a little confusing, because if you look at that plan before, that will be for that year in particular. But the cumulative totals on that other page really are what kind of tell the story. So
Yeah, that is correct. And in my opinion, for the church's information, what I think we care about mostly is the cash flow year over last.
okay.
And that wouldn't be what we would care about if we were a for-profit organization. A for-profit organization, like if I was the owner of Living Friends, Little Friends Living Faith, if I was going to be taking all of this as profit to myself, then I would be very interested in 5 years I'll have gained how much money overall. But that's not how this works. So by 2025, we're in a position where we are cash flow positive year over last by $200,000, which is just phenomenal. And these are the numbers. So I want to, this is probably important to point out, I'm not surprised by this, and Sandy's not surprised by this. I haven't said a lot about it over the last 5 years because I was concerned people would look at this and say, this is Pastor Luke, who we all know is not the best with numbers, not the best with finances, and he's just dreaming. This is pie in the sky. So I wanted this external company that is a very well-respected company that did our business plan and all of our consultation. They have worked with LCEF before. They are well respected by LCEF. These are their numbers. So this isn't Pastor Luke saying this, not pie in the sky. I know I'm an eternal optimist. I get that. It's not me. This is the data from the people we have hired to consult for us.
Okay, Luke,
Yeah.
does the 200,000 then go towards like paying off the mortgage on the property and that kind of stuff?
Wanda, I am so very glad you asked that question. And I love that the answer is, I don't know. It's not my problem. Because the best answer to that question is the church council will decide how those dollars are spent. So the church council will decide, are we going to pay down the mortgage that is on the building for Little Friends? Are we going to pay down the mortgage for the building that the church is building? Are we going to take all of those dollars and put them into missions? I don't know. That will be the decision of the church council. So very specifically in this business plan, you're not going to find a great deal of separation between the preschool and the church, because there shouldn't be, because the preschool is a ministry of our church. That's how this works. So if the preschool is generating dollars positive as a mission of the church is going to decide how to spend those dollars. And anybody who would like a say in how that happens should volunteer to be on the church council. That's how that works.
Could it also be a factor in, say, lowering the amount of tuition a student has to pay? Are we looking to get this kind of return on the money?
I appreciate that sort of thinking. But while saying that, I also think that sort of thinking is counter to what we're trying to accomplish with this early learning center. We are in a community of people who are happy to and willing to pay for this level of childcare. Now, there will always be scholarships available. We currently have scholarships. There is even a small scholarship team that will come together if there's a family that's in need, where there are dollars available for a kid whose parents are going through something, whatever it is. We want to make sure that they can stay here or they can be a student here. That will always be a reality.
Okay.
But, we don't want to, part of it is when you have a high quality program, you want to charge what is relevant to a high quality program. So parents aren't like, well, why is that place only $200 a month? You know, I'm paying $1,500 a month over here. If it's $200 a month over there, that probably sucks. So we want to avoid
There's
that. Yeah, that's a good question though. You're spot on there. Other thoughts and questions?
Luke,
All right. Yeah.
Luke, this is Barb. The tuition, is that, what numbers are you looking at for number of kids? Are you looking at full capacity every year and what is full capacity?
We set it up so it's ramping up each year. We did about a 70 to 75% the first year, and then incremental increases up over the next 2 to 3 years.
So how many kids is that going to increase over what we have now for the first year?
Right now, we have a capacity of 67. We anticipate we'll have a capacity around 120 in the new building.
So double, approximately.
About double, yes.
What kind of waiting lists do we have right now, the way we stand?
Some of the classrooms have wait lists right now. What we find is that because of COVID, a lot of our wait lists, we've been able to work our way down through those. We have a couple openings for next fall, but the classrooms have filled in nicely. But it's a different program from what we will have in the new building. So the people that we'll be reaching out to and we'll be marketing towards will be a different demographic, because there'll be families that have both parents working outside the home. Right now, we only appeal to families who have at least one parent who can transport back and forth with that midday cutoff.
Yeah, and that's a really important point to remember, that right now we're offering something different than we will be in a minute. This plan takes us in a slightly different direction. So, for example, Barb, if you decided that you and Bob don't want to mow your lawn anymore, and you're going to pay a company to mow your lawn, and you're going to pay them $100 a month to mow your lawn, and they say, okay, we'll mow your lawn twice a month for $100. Okay, that might not be enough. Like you actually might need them to mow your lawn 4 times a month, and you'd be willing to pay $400 for 4 times a month, or whatever dollar amount you land on. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But right now, all we're offering is that lower piece. And the reality is nobody wants their lawn in June, July, and August, probably if it's raining. Nobody wants their lawn mowed twice a month. Everybody wants their lawn mowed 4 times a month. So we are currently offering lawn mowing twice a month in a market that desperately wants 4 times a month lawn to be mowed. So that's why this business plan is very different. It's not just a business plan that is dollars and cents. It is vision and mission. So to pull everybody back up to speed, and we're going to get to this in just a second, to pull everybody back up to speed, right now we offer 9 to 1 is our preschool time. So if you're a parent and you have a kid who comes to Little Friends, you have to have some kind of coverage from 5 a.m. to 9 and from 1 until 6, 7, 8 o'clock, or whenever it is. So if you don't have that, your kid doesn't come to our preschool. That we have literally taken ourselves out of that market. So the only families we're really hitting tend to be single income dual parent families. Now, sometimes we'll get dual income families and grandma and grandpa can drop off and pick up kids, and that's great. Or they have some kind of childcare, cool little situation, and that's great. But for the most part, we are addressing a tiny slice of the demographics in our community, the smallest slice possible. Dual or single income, dual parents, one stays at home. That's who we currently serve.
And the
So-
families that Luke, I'll just add that we do have a lot of families that try to make other arrangements because they love us and they want to be at Little Friends. And so they'll have the grandma pick up, or they have a nanny that they pay in the afternoon, and all these sorts of kind of fill in the gap places. But the conversations that we have with the families is, but we would love for them to just be here. We just don't have that availability.
All right.
So Luke and Sandy, just one question. This is Kevin. Looking at the most sensitive piece of the economics is going to be staffing cost, because 63% of what your expenses will be. If you look at availability of the type of staff and the type of person that you want to be a teacher or one of the caregivers in Little Friends, is that available? And how confident are you when you look at the costs that are built into this, that's accurate?
Yeah, and this is actually so if the church has its own secret sauce, part of the secret sauce of Little Friends is about its staffing. The number one reason for these childcare centers closing, which we already talked about, is way high, is the turnover rate for teachers and staff. And that tends to be because they're underpaid, overworked, toxic work environments, all of that. What we offer is some of the best pay for our teachers. And again, this is baked into all of these budget numbers. So we are not just competitive. We're about as good as you can get in terms of childcare pay and preschool pay for lead teachers and associate teachers. And I would say we have some of the best culture and opportunities for advancement and continuing education for teachers that you can find. So that is why, yes, the numbers would be better, far better, if we paid our teachers less. And that's not something that I think that's the secret sauce to why the preschool is so good. But I'll kick that over to Sandy. She knows a little bit more than I do on this stuff.
So Kevin, a lot of the things that we hear from staff is that they would love to be able to receive benefits. They would love more hours. They would love opportunity for academic advancement, things like that. And from people that come in from other centers who have worked other places and come to us, we just hear the climate here is so good. Everybody's so supportive, from the church level down. If people want to continue their education, if there's something that's going on in their family, and maybe they need a break for a couple of weeks because they have to take care of somebody, we have all of that worked in so that we can create this sense of community and feeling of belonging and responsibility that goes along with that. And that really does set the culture for our staff. And so what I believe will happen is people that have great skills and great education are constantly looking to move up to better places. Right now, I interview people and they're like, you sound fabulous, but I need full-time. So, okay, now we're going to have full-time and we're going to be able to offer that. I do have some staff that say, I love you, but I don't want full-time. I only want to stay part-time. And so the kind of hybrid of a program that we're planning will allow those teachers to work part-time, those that want full-time to work full-time. And some folks, maybe they want to work part-time, but they pick up a couple extra shifts. And so we'll have the flexibility to be able to do that, and allow people to work the amount of time they're looking for. And really that flexibility creates the excitement about being at work when you know you're appreciated and you're cared for. So I think we'll do well with getting great staff.
That's helpful, because I certainly do agree. I think, Luke, using your terms, the secret sauce, I mean, that it is a unique environment. And so I guess the question was just, is it scalable
Yes.
with what we're to do here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's part of some of the additional training and mentoring that I'm participating in right now too, is to make sure that we scale that well, and that communication and the appreciation for our staff continues to grow when we go from 12 to 25 to 30.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, the reason why it's scalable is because of Sandy. It is because the church has poured into her energy, effort, resource to continue to be, she has grown. So I'm going to brag on her a little bit right in front of her face, which I'm sure she's loving. We have poured into her over the last several years, and she has grown tremendously in her leadership, her capabilities. She has gotten far better. This is a woman who took a mom's morning out class 17, 20 years ago, whatever it was, and like 8 kids to the preschool that we have today, which is considered, one of the best preschools in the area. And she is not the same woman she was 17 years ago. She continues to grow and be better in what she does. So what does this mean? It means that along the way, she has raised up leaders as teachers who are able to step up and be quality seconds and thirds to train the next generation. That is, it's part of the presentation in just a second here. One of the things I think is going to be the most valuable pieces and the key indicators of success for us moving forward is we're not new to this. We're not starting something from scratch, and saying, hey, let's try preschool, see what happens. We've been doing this for a hot minute, and we've had the same director the whole time, and we've had a lot of the same staff for a long time. So let me transition to what I feel is the burning question, which is, I think a lot of people should have this question: why hasn't Little Friends been running a profit the whole time? So in the last 17 or however many years Little Friends has been around, they've essentially broken even. And now I'm telling you, if we do this thing and build this building, in a few years, we're going to have $200,000 worth of profit that the church council is going to have to decide what to do with. What on earth is the difference? It's as simple as this, except that I'm really bad at math. And so I've decided to present this in terms of bananas. So right now, let's say, and none of these numbers are actual, by the way, and anybody who comes back to me and says your percentages are off and your math is not good, I'm talking in bananas. So if you're really that worked up about the math, then you and I will sit down and have a banana together and talk about where you're coming from. But right now, let's say hypothetically, we have a classroom with 1 teacher and 10 kids. Now, in the future, what we're hoping for is a classroom with 1 teacher, and let's say hypothetically, again, these numbers are not accurate or real, but again, we're talking bananas, 16 kids. So we're going to go ahead and ask the one right now, we're asking all of those parents to essentially, hang on, I've got somebody in the waiting room. Not sure I can let them in. Shoot. All right, they may be out of luck. Anyways, moving on. So,
The
because
negative of respect. With respect to what? Notice we've had so many of these other ones use the
It's a
data
hacker.
object.
It's a hacker's, Luke.
hang on. Let me try and figure out who that is. I'm kicking somebody out named Dan. Is that correct?
I think so. Yes.
Oh, that's just kind of sad. That is just kind of sad. All right, let's get back to the presentation. So, here we go. So right now we've got one teacher, let's say 5 kids, and we're going to go ahead and say what we're moving to is one teacher and 16 kids. Now, currently, because our program is only 9 to 1, we're asking every family per kid to donate 1 banana. Because we're going to move to before and after care, meaning there will be opportunity to drop your kid off before 9 and pick them up well after 1, we're going to ask those kids and their parents to give to us 2 bananas. So if the one scenario right now, we have to pay our teacher 6 bananas per day, we're saying that there's 10 bananas per classroom coming in. 6 of those are going to the teacher. There's obviously 4 bananas that we can use for operational expenses, et cetera, that kind of stuff. What we're moving towards is a scenario where we've got 1 teacher, lead teacher, and 32 bananas, and we're paying that teacher 10 bananas, which is an increase because they are working a greater amount of time. So our payroll costs are going to go up because we've got before 9 o'clock and after 1 o'clock to pay teachers and assistants and such. So that number is going to increase. However, the amount of bananas coming in is exponentially larger because of the space that we currently have. Because that's the actual issue here at hand is what we have right now. The reason why we only have a teacher per 10 kids and 1 banana each is because of our facilities. So we don't have the rooms with the space. We don't have other things like bathrooms and kitchen facilities, et cetera. So what we will be building is a facility that is able to contain and have per classroom more kids with those added facilities that will let us be an accredited facility moving forward. And this is not representative also of the size of the rooms. Our kids will have more space than this, so don't worry about that. This is why, and this is what Sandy and I have been saying the whole time is as we expand the facilities and get more space and better facilities, we can actually expand to before and after care. We can charge a more competitive rate because we'll have a nice new facility. All of that is coming to fruition with this building plan. All right, anything on here that is not clear. Anything I can speak to, any questions you have at this point? All right, I'm going on to the timeline. So, timeline, this is just cut and paste from the business plan that is on the website. So I'm not going to walk through that. We are hopeful that this will still happen. I actually have a little bit of an update that I'll give you in just a second. But we believe that we can move forward with this, but we're going to have a congregational vote for the loan process. So that vote will have to happen sooner than later, and it will essentially be the congregation saying, let's apply for this loan. LCEF can still tell us, nuh-uh, we looked at the business plan, we don't like it, and it's not going to happen. That could be a thing. Then we will require loan approval from LCEF, and then we require the city of Clive to play nice. So here's your update. Just found this out in an email today that the city of Clive is working to find a creative way to loop around to make us getting our variance as easy and simple and quick as possible. So again, I want to drive this point home, right? That the city of Clive, who 15 years-ish ago were real grumpy about us expanding our facilities and increasing stuff, etc., has now just said that what they would like is to find a way to streamline and get us a variance to have childcare on our campus as quickly and easily as possible. So why do you think they've done that? The answer is because the city of Clive is aware that we have a real serious childcare problem in this area. And they are willing and able to do creative things to make sure we get our variance so we can break ground as soon as we can so that we can build this early learning center for kids. I just got that, like I said, I just actually got the email yesterday, but yesterday evening, I read it this morning. Any thoughts there? All right, that's literally all I got. So,
This is Lynn. Does the city of Clive want anything in return?
yes, you know what they want? You know what they want more than anything ever? They
Okay,
want
hit us.
childcare. They want childcare slots. So the city of Clive is interested in having people move to the city of Clive because that increases their tax base. That's why they're building apartments and townhouses and single family homes as fast as they can in every bit of green space possible. They're building. They want people to move here, and people are going to move here. But it's nice to be able to say you can move here and your kids have a place to go to preschool. That would be nice. And there's not enough preschool in this area. Now, I know that there have been a couple of places that have opened in our area. Why do you think people are opening preschool centers or early learning centers in our area? It's because it is the best place to open them. Are we competing with them? Yes. Are they new, inexperienced, without staff that's been around for a while, and without directors who have been doing this for 15, 17, 20 years, or however long Sandy's been doing this? No. Are they Christian? That's a great question. No. So there's our competition in terms of Christian early learning centers is almost nil. So if you're going to pay somebody $1,200 a month to watch your kid, and it is a big box, kinder care, whatever it is down the road, and you're a faithful Christian, and you go, okay, I will do that. Or you will give that same amount of money to Little Friends, who are going to tell your kids about Jesus every single day. As a Christian, where are you going to spend your $1,200? It's a no-brainer. I mean, we have the market cornered on this side of town, pretty much. It's just how it works. I think it's useful to just kind of highlight some of our numbers here, which honestly, these are bonkers. Oops, went too far. These are bonkers numbers. Look at the, this is all, by the way, this little chart that you got in front of you right now, this is from the QRS process that Sandy puts us through every single year. And how many parents are very satisfied in 2021, as in this survey happened a couple of months ago. How many parents are very satisfied with our preschool in a year of a pandemic?
I was going to say, and that's a really nice comparison. If you kind of look back a couple years, we always say there's always one or two, that somehow have not felt satisfied. But last year during a pandemic, it was a little tougher. And this year the bounce back has been amazing. So in the early childhood world, we're calling this the rebound. So this is the rebound year. All of a sudden, early childhood has become a major focus. We've discovered, oh my goodness, our kids do need to go someplace and learn. And they really appreciate the effort and the care that's given. So those numbers reflect that, I think, very well.
And I honestly think we are just barely seeing and hearing that rebound. It is going to hit so hard in the fall and every year afterwards. It's going to build. If you look there, question 5, educational foundation for children. One of the biggest things that is important for people in our area for their kids in their early learning childhood centers and preschool is a high quality of education. Yeah, we have done very, very well in providing an educational foundation for children that parents are very happy with. Our preschool, the quality of our preschool, I cannot say enough how high it is. It is, I know it's an anecdotal thing, and I don't put a lot of credence on anecdotal stuff, but I had one of our members say to me that they called a friend of theirs at the Iowa State Extension in the department that oversees early childhood centers and preschools and say, what's the best preschool in our area? And she told me that friend of hers at Iowa State Extension said, it's in your church. Like, what are you doing? It's there. Go there to your church. So we really do have one of the best programs you can find in the entire state in our house. And we are in a market that could not be more ripe for this. And at a time that could not be better for this, when, again, anecdotally, the state throws $320,000 at us, this is a God-blessed and God-ordained moment in time, in my opinion. So here are our, in my opinion, key elements to success. This first one sounds should sound bigger than it is. Retain the high quality of Little Friends. It's a big deal. So there's a new early learning center going in down the road called Primrose. They are going to have to hire staff, find a director, pull things together to put in place a high quality program. We have that. It's already done. Like their work is all uphill. Our work, the easiest thing that we have to do is put a building together. We are planning on expanding our special needs programming. And I'll let Sandy speak to this in just a second, but we are, as far as I'm aware of, one of the only centers or preschools in the area that has this type of programming for young kids, which again just gives us a segment of the market that nobody else has. Would you like to expand on that, Sandy?
Sure. We have historically offered care to children that have special needs. We've offered across the years, we've had children with Down syndrome or who've been on the autism spectrum or who have speech or physical delays and things like that. And again, that's an area that we've grown in. We've continued to train staff, establish partnerships and make connections here in the community so that we have people that can support us. And so as we moved into this new building, we are planning for the new building. We have created a mini class is what we're calling it for those children that need to have pull-out services. So special needs students will be integrated in our classrooms. There's going to be folks that will oversee that and coordinate that care. And then when they need to get pulled out, so maybe somebody from the school district needs to come and offer PT or OT, they'll have a space that they'll be able to pull out and do that without interrupting the classroom and the rest of the students, or being stuck in a hallway, which is what we've tried to do now. We've had people in the atrium trying to do speech and communication skills, and it's impossible when you've got people walking back and forth. So we've been real creative over the years, but it is certainly something that we see a huge need for. Some of our most fantastic reviews this year were from families who did not think their child would be able to be in a typical environment. They never thought that would happen for their child. And she's come in and she's flourished and she's done amazing, and the teachers are fantastic. And I love the passion that the teachers have for trying to help these students. They come with their questions, we get them answered, we find support when we need to. It's not the typical easy, everybody sits down sort of programming, but our teachers have really risen to this challenge and taken that passion on. And so it's exciting to know we'll continue to offer that.
Yeah, and there's just nothing like it in our area. I mean, if parents in all of basically Western Des Moines don't really have an option for this on a daily routine basis, and that's sad. So it gives us again, and there are also state dollars that are available for those types of services. I mean, this is a huge piece of the direction that we're going for Little Friends. Also, we are currently investing in our director. Excuse me. Sandy has volunteered for this awesome mentoring program from some company out in New York.
Schools of Excellence.
Yes, it's an excellent organization. Because this is because this is such a big deal. Like we stand to be putting ourselves in a position where just the regular budget of our church and preschool is going to gain by a great deal. And that is the smallest, most insignificant piece of the puzzle. Outside of that, we're going to be serving our community. Kids' lives are going to be changed. We're going to be assisting families, raising young Christian men and women to be the future elders and council members and worship team directors and pastors of churches around the globe. So, I mean, this is a really big deal. We should make sure that everybody on staff has the training that they need. So, we've made it a point to find the best training possible for our director, for me, for anybody involved in this, to make sure that we do the best job possible. I'm sure there's a question on ongoing organizational support from the congregation. What I mean by this is nothing changes in terms of the org chart. Little Friends, even though it will grow dramatically, and its budget will grow dramatically because its payroll will grow dramatically and operational expenses grow dramatically, does not outpace and outgrow the church. It's not as though Little Friends is going to run Living Faith because they bring in more dollars than this. It is going to remain the Living Faith Lutheran Church, and under that, the organizational chart is going to stay the same. So it goes congregation, council, me as senior pastor, and then the staff. And on that staff is the director of the preschool. Again, this is important to say things like who decides how any profit, excess revenue is spent. That's going to be church council and me, primarily that conversation, the exact same way that it happens right now. The ongoing leadership support from the congregation is going to be critical to our success moving forward, meaning my job, Dan's job, the council's job in leadership of the congregation is going to chart the path forward for Little Friends. The direction that the church goes is the direction that Little Friends is going. And these things all do line up really nicely. They always have. From the first day I got here to this very moment, it has in my heart, in my mind, all lined up really nicely. We serve families, we serve kids. Our tagline is welcome home. We are the church that welcomes you and your kids together. We've got a ministry that is the best preschool for your kids right here. It all just kind of lines up. So that is everything that I got. Any thoughts and questions?
It's Marlene. I've got a question about the loan. Are we after the congregational meeting, asking for a loan to build the preschool or asking for a loan for the whole thing?
Good question. First thing we're going to ask for is a loan to pay for the preschool. Now, there's two kind of ways to look at this. We're not asking for the loan for the preschool based off of the church's financial position. We're going to ask for the loan based off of the business plan and the ability that we believe the preschool has to accomplish their vision and mission and the business plan to pay for their own mortgage. The reason why that's important is because what we're not doing is we are not leveraging the dollars that we have had come in for the capital campaign for the church renovation. We're not leveraging that against the preschool. Okay, that I want to make sure that that is as clear as can be. We set from the beginning, the preschool has to be able to say, we can, if given a loan of $2+ million, illustrate how we can pay for that over time, regardless of any dollars that the church puts in. So, and that's not even the best answer possible, because the first thing that we're going to ask in a congregational meeting is to say, we would like to apply for a loan. And then we have to send that to LCEF, and LCEF has to say, we will approve you for this loan. And my understanding is we have to have yet another congregational meeting to actually borrow those dollars. So for this loan, there's actually 2 congregational meetings, is my understanding. The first one to say we want to apply, and the second, and LCEF wants that. First one to apply, second one to get the dollars. Did that answer your question, Marlene?
A little. I'm still a little bit confused. Could we possibly get the money for the preschool and then they would turn us down for the other part? Or when we do apply, are we applying for the whole amount? Are we going to get the 5 million or the 2 million?
Okay, now I got you. So we're going to do it in stages, but LCF has already said to us that there is almost certainly, and again, like almost certainly in the time of a pandemic, almost certainly an option to combine the two. So we're going to go in stages. The first loan that we're going to look to secure is for the preschool. And then we will look to secure a loan for the church side. And in the process of that second loan, there may be an option. I should say, there is likely an option to pull those things together into one loan.
Could they
And
turn us down for the second half?
it is not likely. If we're going to get turned down, it's going to be on the first half. I mean, it is very, very unlikely, let me say it that way, that we're going to get turned down, that we're going to get approved for the preschool and turned down for the second half. What would be more likely is somehow in all of this work we've done, we do not get approved for the preschool, and then we do get approved for the church side. That's far more likely, even though it's not very likely.
Okay. Answers my question. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm confused. Doesn't surprise you, does it? All right. You stated that the Little Friends is going to be basically self-sufficient, be able to pay their loan back. But then on the other hand, you also said the church council, if there's $100 and some thousand laying there, they get to decide where this money is going to go. And they might decide to send 2,500 people to Kenya. So you're contradicting yourself. Either
No.
we pay back Little Friends, yes, you are, because you're saying the council can have a selection of who to give this money to the profit. I don't like that word profit when we're talking about a nonprofit organization, but the excess money that we have, you say the council has the jurisdiction to say what they're going to go to. And then in the same breath, you said Little Friends is going to have the responsibility of paying back their loans.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do?
Both of those. So
they need to pay need to pay their loan back first.
yes. Okay, let me be clear on this. This is this is after their loan is paid, we anticipate the business plan says we will be ahead. Like you said, I don't like the word profit either, especially because we're not profit, which is its own, like we can talk about that weird dynamic in a second if people want to. But yeah, this is $100,000 after everything has been paid for, loan included. Now we have $100,000.
So we'll pay the mortgage each year. That's already covered in the expenses. So the money that's left over, that's in addition. Yes, it could be used to pay off the loan sooner if that's what church council decides, or, they could build something else or use that money for other things. But again, it all falls under that church council authority for that.
Okay. I'm satisfied. Thank you.
And I've already had, so as this trickled out, people have said, well, we could just pay down the mortgage on the new. Yeah, we could. I don't, that's a council problem. It's honestly not even my problem, which is kind of nice. Like we could pay down the mortgage of the new preschool and have it done in 10 or 15 years instead of 30 years. Okay. Smarter people than me will make this decision. And I don't know what the answer is. Any other thoughts and questions?
I had one. Can you put that slide back up that had listed all the expenses that the preschool had? And is it possible to put that slide up? Because I was looking for a line item in there that I didn't, well, I thought it looked, it was, there wasn't anything in there. I'll just tell you, it was for insurance. And it looked like there was nothing budgeted.
Yeah, so let me just go ahead and see if I can share. So part of our problem is I work entirely on Macs, and this business plan in an Excel spreadsheet is not our friend. But I believe I've got the PDF here.
That insurance is included on the overview page,
Yeah.
Barb.
Okay,
It lists down use of revenue. It has equipment, supplies, and insurance listed, and we just bundled those together for ease of the form.
okay. Well, I saw on the other one that there was nothing listed, so.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I have
there
one-
is.
one other question before you go
Sure.
on there. Getting back to numbers of kids, you say we're at about 67 kids right now in preschool.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's what our capacity is. So in the new, what it is, how many, did you say 120? Was that what you were going to start with the first year?
No, that's what our potential capacity will be.
Okay. So
What the business plan is run off is that we anticipate we need to have an equivalent of 79 full-time. And so that's what we estimated the first year, and that's what we'll budget, that's what we'll market towards, is reaching that goal. And that's kind of that break even. We won't really break even the first year, obviously, but then as that number increases, there has to be kind of a ramp up for anything like this.
Right.
And especially if we start in October, not at the beginning of the year, it will take a little bit of time to do that. So we tried to be conservative with that number for sure.
Okay, so, but if you have 120 kids capacity, correct?
Correct.
Is the preschool going to still stay at about 67 then?
It really will depend. So there will be 8 classrooms. Currently, we have 5 classrooms. The classrooms that we have are fairly small, and so the numbers of children in each room is limited. So with the newer rooms, each classroom will have a partner room. So say there'll be a 2-year-old classroom that's full-time, and then there'll be a 2-year-old classroom that's part-time. And that classroom may have preschool, it may have before care, it may have after care. If that classroom is empty, it may have aftercare with kids that come from preschool in the community and get bused into us. So we've kind of opened the door to a lot of different community connections to make sure that we're able to fill those spots.
So the number you're looking for is full-time equivalent. Meaning if we have, let's say Bobby is here for 5 hours, a week, and Sally is here for 5 hours a week, that's 10 full hours a week. If that is one full-time equivalence between the two of them, if 10 hours is one equivalent, we've got 2 kids who together make one full-time equivalent. So what we're moving to is to actually measure the full-time equivalence that we have of all of our kids. And I'm trying to find that, and I don't have it at my fingertips, but yeah, it is that between 100 and 120 full-time equivalents are the number of kids that we're going to
On
have
page
in our
7 of the business plan.
There it is. You got it. Yep. So 79.
That was what the childcare consultants recommended, that would be the sweet spot, is at 79. So we started there, but knowing our community and knowing how well we anticipate this going, we see that number going up. So, and we built the rooms to hold a higher capacity. So.
Yeah. And just so we're clear, I want to say it one more time, full-time equivalent. So you could have two kids who are each half-time kids. That is one full-time equivalent. So you could say we have double the number if all of our kids were half-time, which is not at all the goal or the model by any stretch of the imagination. That would be terrible. But if all of our kids were half-time equivalent, what we'd be looking for is 79 times 2 for full-time equivalents.
Just to give a different example, currently our capacity is 67. If our classrooms were absolutely packed, we could have 67 children in our building. Currently, the highest number we ever have is like 45. Just because you don't want the rooms overcrowded. And right now with COVID, we have those numbers reduced. Usually our numbers around 52. Okay, so assume we have 50 children in the building. Well, I have one group of students that come Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I have a second group of students that come just Tuesday, Thursday. So we have 100 students, but it's the equivalent of 50 full-time students. Does that make sense?
There you go. That's a good way to say it.
Sandy?
Yes.
This is Chris. On the new preschool program, will it be a 5-day program or will it be part-time like it is now?
No, there'll be both. So there will be full-time care offered. Pre-K will remain a 5-day option the way it is now. And then that classroom afterwards will be available for school-age children, kindergarten to second grade, to come into that classroom after, say 2:30, 3 o'clock, whenever they get out of school. But there will also be other classrooms that will be the same layout that we have now. So there'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday students and Tuesday, Thursday students. And then those families that, they need to not pick up till 2:30 or 3 o'clock, we'll be able to accommodate those. But we will be blending some classrooms together. So maybe the 2s and 3s that are preschool, maybe out of those 20 students, only 5 or 6 need after school care. They will combine into one room. That will reduce our staff cost and be able to just open up another classroom if we need it for something else.
But we won't be offering a 5-day for the younger kids, just pre-K?
We'll offer 5-day for full-time care. If they want that kind of 6:30 to 6 timeframe, we will offer that. But it will be more of it will have the components of preschool, but it will be full-time care.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's kind of preschool with before and after care.
Yeah, it's definitely, we've created a hybrid model. So we've maintained that core of preschool. But for those families that need full-time, so currently if we have a child that needs all 5 days, they have to attend Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday sessions. So the way our teachers would deliver a lesson, they would pretty much do the same thing on Monday and Tuesday. And so for some of those students, that's repetitive. We would avoid that by having that child attend a full-time class.
Awesome. Sandy, let me ask, do we have a calculation on our current full-time equivalents?
We're around 50 right now.
Okay. That was a question from the chat room. Yeah, so 50 full-time equivalents, we're essentially doubling the size of the preschool.
Correct.
Actually, more than. I hope that answered your question, Heather, but if not, fire me another one. Any other questions from the crew? Last call. I'm going to give you every chance possible. because the next thing I'm going to do is move for a congregational meeting where we have a vote for the members of our church to consider applying for a loan. And that loan is well above $2 million. So buckle
Okay.
up, buttercups.
I
Yeah.
have a question.
Yeah.
I think it said somewhere that this mortgage payment for the 2 million was gonna be about 11,000 a month.
Correct.
So we can pretty much figure that the other side, church side, is gonna be more than that. Because wasn't it closer to 3?
Well,
And
we're going to
you put
phase.
less the money. Okay. So what I'm wondering, or what assurance, I guess, is if the church has a problem making that much more of a payment, our contributions aren't that much more than, I don't even know if they are that much of our budget right now, what percentage they are. I know we run pretty, we spend what we take in budget wise, right?
We're a little bit
I mean,
ahead, but yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, but if we add a $11,000 or $13,000 mortgage payment on top of the one that we already have, how are we going to fund that? And also, is there any assurance that that overage that the preschool may have can be applied to that if necessary?
Well, how that gets applied is the purview of the council.
Would the council be willing to commit to that versus in saying, oh no, we need to send that to missions instead? I feel like we could really get ourselves in some trouble with adding on a mortgage payment that large when we don't have our own church building already paid off. And we're not running way over our budgeted amount as far as our contributions are anyway. We don't have any surplus.
We do. We have a surplus every year. We actually end up in the black. We've been in the black every year but the first year that I was here. So 11 years in a row we've been in the black.
Okay. In the amount of 200,000+?
No,
Okay.
that is correct. No, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. But I just want to be clear that we are not a church that is running in the red trying to borrow money. That's not who
We
we
used
are.
to be.
We
Yeah.
were before I was here.
Right. I
And
remember those
a
days.
lot of things have
But
changed.
we don't want to get in that position again that every sermon's about money, and we're constantly having to worry about, are we going to be able to make the mortgage payment?
Yeah, and I don't suspect people are going to be leaving and not giving because we are looking to move forward and grow and build. I don't feel like that's going to be the result of what we're doing. But to address your specific issues, is there anything specifically? I would say on the one hand, no. On the other hand, yes, everything. Because the council has the entire purview of the budget. I mean this for every nickel and dime, every single nickel and dime. If we are concerned that the council is going to send $250,000 to mission while being $10,000 short on our mortgage, then what we really have is a bunch of morons on council, and they should all be not on council anymore. That is not what we have. We have very bright, very kind, loving, intelligent Christians on our council. So I guess I can't promise you for sure that the 9 people in the room won't make the dumbest decision that has ever been made in a church ever. I can't promise that, but I'm pretty certain about it.
Well, I just want to make sure that is an option, that money can be used for that purpose.
It is the only option. The council has every right purview, jurisdiction. It is only the council that sets the budget. Nobody else. Sandy does not tell me what her budget is for this year. And she cannot tell me, so we plan on bringing in tuition and registration, $200,000, and we're going to spend $500,000. So that you got to figure that out. That's not how this works. Not at all.
Where is the, we've been giving, we have this 3-year plan of we're giving money each month or monthly or yearly, or we're supposed to have, what is there in there? $800,000 or something?
About $1.2 million.
That's pledged.
Yes.
Okay. Where is that money right now, and what is it? Is that what's been used for these plans and these architect, and is that all being spent now?
That's a very good question. So the money that has come in is all gone into a pot, essentially. Okay. Let's call it Pastor Luke's back right-hand pocket corner. That's where all of that money is, right there. There has been an amount of money donated by Little Friends parents that has come in for the capital campaign. So as you're reading that business plan, you will find a bullet point that says capital campaign. So Little Friends is running its own capital campaign, which is not probably going to be as successful as the church. We would imagine that, because specifically the Tim family, I'm not real excited about donating to Little Friends versus Living Faith, because I ain't got kids coming up through Little Friends anymore. So I'm not going to do that. But those dollars are going to go in my back left-hand pocket. So the plans that are currently being drawn up are probably it gets a little funky, because we have to look at the entire site. When we do a site plan, all of the dirt we own has to be looked at, whether we're going to build a preschool or not. So if that costs, and I'll give you rough numbers here, about $17,000 to do a site survey of all of our dirt, I have decided, since we're going to build, regardless if the preschool exists or not, I'm not charging the preschool, because that was going to get done either way. If I said a year and a half ago, you know what, never mind, Little Friends is out, we're not going to do it anymore, we're just going to have a church, we would still have spent $17,000. So in my opinion, and you can disagree with me, or other people can disagree with me, and I'd be okay with that, I'm not charging them for that. Now, architectural fees to build a preschool, well, that we wouldn't do that if we didn't have a preschool, right? So those dollars are going to be charged to Little Friends. And we've got, for instance, we have a grant that's a $25,000 grant where they say, if you spend $25,000 in architectural fees, we'll give you $25,000 back. Well, Little Friends has gotten about $20,000 in contributions for its capital campaign. So if I say, okay, here's that $20,000 for architectural fees, and then here's $5,000 from the church, and then we get $25,000 back, and that $5,000 goes back into my back right-hand pocket, I feel like we haven't spent money. Even if we spent $5,000 in a minute, we haven't really spent $5,000 because we got it all back. Are you tracking with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to have a few things like that, where it's essentially borrowing from yourself. And I'm really trying to keep that to a minimum. But, the state said, here's $25,000. You just have to spend $25,000 to get it. If I got to spend $5 and get $5 back to be at $0, I feel okay with that.
I understand that, but where is the money that we've been giving?
It's in my back right-hand
It's
pocket.
in the savings. It is not in his pocket.
I know that. He can't just say something. He's got to make bananas and apples out of it.
Yes.
Pastor Bloom, this is Pastor Dan.
Yeah.
Do you read the minutes from the council? Do you look at the financials from the council every month?
No,
There's a line item right in there that shows how much it is. It's its
Okay.
own line item.
then I will look that up. I
Is that
was just
correct? I didn't
curious.
misspeak on that, did I,
When
anybody?
Barb's talking about this stuff about, if we're behind in mortgage, couldn't we use some of that sometime, and plus Little Friends is gonna be making, I mean, it's not like they're gonna, they're gonna get at least $5,000-6,000 of that 11,000. It's not like they're not gonna have any. I just, we're
Yes.
still gonna
And-
be making money off of Little Friends. I mean, we're
Yes,
not
and-
supporting them completely.
Yeah, and our financial position right now is very strong, which is so counterintuitive. It is bonkers to say in the middle of a pandemic, our financial position is strong, but it is. It really is. We have a giant pot of money that is several $100,000. Off the top of my head, it is 400 and some $1,000 in a pot. That's been given for the building. And then over here, we have operational expenses, which is offerings that have been given, and that's ahead also. So I mean, I wish I had any kind of bad news, like any sort of dark cloud to be like, but also watch out. I don't. It's going really well. Our financial position is really, really strong right now.
Is that counterintuitive to being nonprofit? I mean, don't we have to get rid of our money every year?
Hey,
Another great question.
This is Pastor Dan. I think I work for nonprofit. It's called DMAC.
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions of dollars a year being transacted, right? Building projects of 10, 20, $30 million projects going on all the time. Salaries, many, many millions, operational costs super high, right? So nonprofit means you just have to prove to your board or whoever you're ascribing to, the government or whoever, that the money you're using is not essentially to profit off someone, that you have a place and a purpose for all those dollars for your vision, mission, purpose, whatever that is. So if DMAC's got $1 billion in it, let's put it this way. Iowa State University has let's say they have $1 billion in their endowment. They're a nonprofit. That $1 billion is targeted towards these things, right? And the regents can govern what they're going to do with it. For us, we're 5013C, whatever it is, as long as we're not profiting in a way that is not in alliance with the regulations, the money can be used for the operations. So you have to, the longer I'm in nonprofit, you have to think like a for-profit or you will die. Because if you're not making money, you can't work. You'll shrink. You're either growing or you're shrinking, one of the two. That's really the only two directions. If you're stagnant, you're essentially dying. So the fact that we have a growing budget, a growing building, and I'd say a growing vision for the church. I've been part of a church that has had that. I've been part of a church that has lost that. It's much more fun being the side that it is a growing church. It is a different mentality. It is a forward thinking. And the great thing is people see that vision and will come alongside that because they know this is a positive direction. When it's going the other way, you'll see organizations. I know one locally that's gone the other way, and all the rats are jumping from the ship. And that's a nonprofit. Well, their goal was to not lose millions of dollars a year, and that's what they started doing. So I think it's good that we're being very cautious about this, but the fact that we have a nice nest egg for our church building project over in this other pot, and that we need $1 million+ kind of given the first 3 years, that we're on track to do that. That is satisfying LCF, and otherwise we couldn't move forward on this. So the great thing is the preschool seems to be its own standalone entity, but we have a strong organizational structure alongside of it to help foster it, help it grow and mature until it can, like its parent, until it runs off on its own, and then we're old and then it pays us.
Yeah. Yeah. And to sort of branch off of that, the difference between nonprofit and profit is as simple as nobody owns the living faith. So at the end of the day, if we're ahead $200,000 because of the preschool, that goes to nobody's pocket. If we are a for-profit, and let's say hypothetically, I own Living Faith, at the end of the year, if we're $200,000 ahead, I can just pay me $200,000, and I go, woohoo! I made $200,000 plus my annual salary. That's awesome. For profit, or not for profit. So all we have to do, we could, to be clear, and I think we ought to, if this goes well over the next 5 years, reevaluate everybody on staff. And then this is not a Pastor Luke question. This is if we have a director who is kicking tail and taking names and having and doing an incredible job with her responsibilities for early learning center stuff, teachers who are doing awesome, everything is going great, maybe we should look at our salaries, because the better we pay, the better talent we're going to have and retain long term. That's okay, as long as we're not saying at the end of the day, the owners of Living Faith or Little Friends take a pile of money and put it in their back pocket, which is not what I'm doing. Even though, I mean, let's be honest, there's probably going to be a pastor hunting preserve or boat fund or something.
How about a permanent dunk tank for you?
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's for baptisms.
Yeah, baptism. Always ice cold when Luke goes in it, but yeah, for baptism. Any other questions we have? This is your chance. This is it.
Okay, I have one.
Sure.
If Sandy said that anybody second grade and down can come for after school hours for care, is that right?
As long as we have spots available, yes.
Right. So what happens if there's kind of a big age difference in the kids in the family? And they have a young one who's in preschool and they're going to stay for care for the afternoon. What about the third grader who goes to school somewhere? They're not old enough to stay by themselves. Are we
A lot of
answering their
schools-
problems?
No, a lot of the schools offer an after-school program that's designed for children like that. And usually by the time they're third or fourth grade, they can handle that level of social interaction. They get to play in the gym and do more extracurricular sorts of things after school. It's usually
Sure.
those younger ones that parents are more concerned about. Maybe they would not be as successful, or maybe they would be intimidated in a large group like that. So those were the ones. And we have a limited number, of spots. So we had to kind of find an arbitrary number. And
Right.
and an age span between kindergarten and second grade would not be a huge span for us to be able to put those students together in a classroom.
Okay, I follow that.
It's a sharp question, though. All right. This is it. Here's your chance. Next meeting's going to be a vote. Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? All
I'll
right.
just I'm gonna just add one thing. As much as we talked about the business side of this, I do not want us to lose sight of the fact that this is a ministry. And this is something that Living Faith has done very well for a long time. Our community looks up to us for this. If you look at those numbers that we included on the satisfaction rate, 86% of the people come to Little Friends because of the Christian education. That is not something to take lightly. We are supporting and growing families in our community and providing them with that. And so I just want to make sure that that remains a part of this conversation, and we don't get lost in the weeds of the numbers.
Amen. Absolutely. If you are looking for high quality Christian education for your young children, we have the best program right now. All we're looking to do is expand it. It is the best program. And I'm confident saying that based off of people I've talked to in the industry, parents. It is just true. And I think it makes a lot of sense to expand this. We get excited about those numbers, about 200K a year that the council gets to figure out how to spend. That's exciting. That is really exciting. But Sandy's absolutely correct that the real payoff is we'll actually never see our return on investment. Our return on investment is going to be how many more kids who are 3-4 years old grow up, and because of the influence that we have in their early lives and on their parents, become profound Christians, and those kids move off and live in Connecticut, Colorado, Nevada, Utah, all over the country, and they are elders, and they are council presidents, and they are worship leaders, and they are pastors, and we lose track of them over time. But because of Little Friends and that early foundation, the impact that we have on the kingdom of God is absolutely tremendous and cannot be overstated. We look at it in terms of $200,000 bonus dollars to spend a year. And that is the smallest. That would be like telling me I've got another $10 to spend this year in my budget. This year, I get $10 more. I can't even go to McDonald's for $10 a year. That's the $200,000. What we have is an investment in God's kingdom that is absolutely profound. And he blesses us in the process. This is a no-brainer, in my opinion. So, Dan, you want to close this in order of prayer?
All right, my job, right? I would love to. All right, everybody bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, this is an awesome opportunity. You've laid before this church a vision and mission to help the little ones in our community and their parents. It's a great service we provide to the community, but it is also primarily about building your kingdom here on earth. I pray for continued guidance and green lights for this project, that the business plan bears out, and that there be much fruit, that there be fruit at last forever. That is people in your kingdom and that gospel that is proclaimed. I'm walking down the halls of that preschool and I keep hearing the gospel at all these rooms. That is a beautiful thing, and it does not go out void. So help us to be faithful to that, to make sure we proclaim you as Lord and Savior, and we are completely under your authority. So whatever your will is, that will be done, but help us to align ourselves to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Sorry about the technical hiccups. We got through it. We're good. But
I think the problem was me.
was that you who joined and I kicked out?
Yes,
Were
that
you
was
trying
me.
to teach us about respect? Because that's what it kept saying.
Oh, well, I think it was me. I think I was watching my Greek class, and I think my audio was piping from my Greek class into my audio. I think it was Veltz talking. I think that's what was happening, but I'm not sure. Maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, because it was a weird thing for somebody to spam us and like instead of showing us porn or something terrible to talk about respect. So I was like, that's weird.
You guys are, I was like, I thought I had it muted, but maybe Adobe Connect isn't very smart. So maybe it patched the audio over and even, I think so it was me. It said Dan, right?
It did say Dan. It did
Yeah,
say
it was me.
Dan.
It was for sure me. Yeah. So no, it was my Greek class getting piped in.
Yeah, well, that wasn't the first technical difficulty we had, so don't sweat it. All right, everybody.
All right. I'll
Thanks
see you
for
in the
joining
morning.
us. We'll see you.